Oh man, how y'all doing this morning, man? How y'all doing? Peace and love to everybody in the chat. Peace and love to everybody. Good morning. I just want to get to what I need to get to real fastly right here and deal with this craziness with these Hebrews, man. I swear, these Hebrews are a joke.
Speak the truth, speak the truth. People need to understand this. Straight shot. Disrespecting the greatness. You may have never heard this before. One more for the playlist. Tell them what to do. This is what we gonna do. Speak the truth, speak the truth. People need to understand this. Straight shot, no, I can't miss. Are you just talking? Therefore, I do this here often. One of the biggest mistakes you ever can make is disrespecting the greatness. You may have never heard this before. One more for the playlist. Tell them what to do. Cool, thanks. Kudos. Real talk, not for the pseudos. Trust the kid. Real talk, I debunked the myth. Sit still. Don't run from this. It's a wise man told me. Watch for the fakes and the phonies. You gotta be cautious. Listen and open your conscience. People be talking that nonsense. Chattering, that's when the daggers are stopping.
Okay.
This is what we gonna do. Speak the truth, speak the truth. People need to understand this. Straight shot, no, I can't miss. Are you just talking? Therefore, I do this here often. One of the biggest mistakes you ever can make is disrespecting the greatness. You may have never heard this before. One more for the playlist. Tell them what to do. This is what we gonna do. Speak the truth, speak the truth. People need to understand this. Straight shot, no, I can't miss. Are you just talking? Therefore, I do this here often. One of the biggest mistakes you ever can make is disrespecting the greatness. You may have never heard this before. One more for the playlist. Tell them what to do.
All right, let's get it in. Let's get it in. Let's get it in. Let's get it in. So last night, my brother Danyaahla, and he needs to call in too, so people know that we don't have any beef or anything. And what I'm gonna do is this, right? I'm kind of disappointed in Danyaahla, and the reason why I'm disappointed is, and I'm gonna say this publicly, we got to stop playing scholastic games with the people. All right, and my team don't want me to respond. They don't want me to respond at all. Actually, they don't want me to respond at all to Danyaahla right now. They want me to wait. But there's a few things that he said last night. I'm kind of concerned of the information he's putting out, and you know, I mean, I'm kind of like disappointed because I thought he would respond to some of the stuff, the real stuff. But the conversation with the Hebrews, and then at the end he said, "Oh, the Hebrews, they're coming for me, whoever." I don't care. I don't care if it's Divine Prospect. I don't care if it's Tazariak. I don't care who it is. All right? And I'm not going to mention Zion's name because Zion is not running. It's just for us to just decide on a date and just sit down and have a real debate. I'm not into the back and forth and who lies the best. It's about 10 rounds. After each round, 5 minutes for fact checking. That's something that never been done. I've been calling for this for 4 years now. I've been saying this on it, that we need to have fact checkers because people can just come out in the public and say anything and they'll say, hey, it's true. But anyway, I'm going to play a video. It's my brother Danyaahla. And I'm going to, man, I expected better. But let's look at Danyaahla for a minute here. Let me, damn, oh, this shit was playing already. Hold on a second. Let me go back. We talking about James Douglas and
white man. Let's see what their favorite website, Wikipedia, says about his son. Watch this. Early life, and I took a screenshot of it. He was an infant when his father went on crusade and killed at the Battle of Tebla, whilst fighting the Moors, according to Walter Bauer. He was dark and ugly, more like a cocoa. Y'all see that? Let me. He was.
Hold on a second.
dark.
I want to ask everybody in the audience right now, right? When you see ugly, more like a cocoa, and you see this in parentheses, why would the writer put cook boy in the parentheses? Remember, this is, when was this written? Like 1300s, 1200s, 1300s? I'm asking everybody in the audience right now, because y'all gonna talk black to me today. And we gonna look at each little thing that he said and try to make sense out of the nonsense. And I appreciate the brother responding, by the way. I'm not gonna be, I promise I won't be disrespectful. Because you know, at the end of the day, Danyaahla is a leader of men. So I got to pay attention that there's people who is a part of his congregation who respects and love him. So I don't want to talk out of term. And I mean, I'll use the word pseudo or whatever, but I'm not going to disrespect the brother, because at the end of the day, he's leading men. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he's leading females, but I know he's leading men. All right. Another conversation for another time. Now, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, because at the end of the day, he's leading men. You know what I'm saying? All right. And by the way, I think I caught whatever my son had yesterday. I think I caught it. So he's at school actually. All right. All right. Let's look at this, by the way. I'm going to ask everybody in the audience. This is Walter Bauer writing about the Battle of Teba whilst fighting the Moors. According to Walter Bauer, he was dark and ugly, more like a Coco. Then he puts cook boy in parentheses than a noble. What do you guys think that means? Let me ask the audience. What do you guys think that means? What do you guys think that means? Why would they put that? I'm asking. Nobody want to. So this is evil. Black Douglas, huh? Yeah. Don't worry about it, Dara Blue. I'm going to get to that in a second. Yeah. So let me ask everybody. What does that mean? All right. Let me continue playing this for a second. And when they say dark and you're speaking, what would dark mean and ugly? He's describing him using an adjective, ugly. Okay, more than a noble. All right, let's take a look.
And ugly, more like a Coco. So this man that was the son of James Douglas, Archibald Douglas, is described as being so dark he passed for Coco. Y'all see that? Now you brothers and sisters see some crap that is inside parentheses. Brothers and sisters, when you see stuff in parentheses, just like in the Bible, when you see things in parentheses, they do not appear in the original. That is the author throwing something in there to throw you off. So he gives you the quotes of what it is. And how we know that he put in quotes that this is talking about him being a cook boy and not a noble. No, it's describing him as being dark and ugly. It's describing how he looks. How he looks. He was dark and ugly, more like a Coco. So this man, Archibald Douglas.
Now, what does Coco mean? What does Coco mean in that time period for the Scottish people? Do you know? Why didn't you pull up a Scottish dictionary prior to 1700 and look at what Coco means? I want to have a sit down with you. I want to have a sit down. I'm not going to go too deep as that is. Now, we got to understand these people. You know, when you're studying Hebrew, and I'm not here to bash the brother or whatever. I've done enough of that already. You know, when you're studying Hebrew and English, when I was taking Hebrew recently, you have the subject, the verb, and the object, just like English. I mean, they'll correct me if I'm wrong. But when you study in Old English and these old Scottish languages, they break every single rule. They throw a little idiom in there, so they throw you off. When he's saying he was dark and ugly, more like a Coco, what is he saying? What is he trying to describe? And why did the author put cook boy there? Why did they insert that in? Very interesting. All right. Anyway, let me continue to play this.
Son of James Douglas is described as being Coco. This is from Wikipedia. How come you guys missed that? You guys love Wikipedia. You love it. How'd you miss this? And now my next question is, how is it that this white man, according to you, ends up with a son that's so dark he's called Coco? Can y'all explain that to me? Can y'all explain that to me? But I'm not done. I'm not done. Because guess what? Just like I told you, y'all see that number 2 right there next to Noble, the blue hyperlink? When you click on it, it takes you to where he got it. The name of this book is called A History of the Douglas, from the earliest time down to the Legislative Union of England and Scotland. And you brothers and sisters can see the blue arrow on the left-hand side of the screen. You brothers and sisters can see the blue arrow on the left-hand side of the screen. You can clearly see that that's where he got it from. Again, it's describing him as being Coco. So Archibald Douglas, the son of James Douglas, is described as being so dark he looked like he was Coco. People called him ugly. He was so dark.
Why, yo, Ras Marcus, and I know Mika should pick up on this. What is cocoa bread? Anybody eats cocoa bread from Jamaica? Netta Zoza, I'm like, wow. He was dirty. That's what it means, a dirty white boy. Now, cocoa. Now, I'm going to ask everybody this. Cocoa. What is cocoa bread? Do we eat cocoa bread? What does it look like? Come on, Mika. You was in this chat. Come on. Come on. Where the other spies at? You eat cocoa bread with beef patty. What does the cocoa bread look like? Let me say something, by the way, too, man. I'm going to play something later on. And I want to sit down with the brother. Not to back and forth, but to understand really, why do you want these people to be black and dark skinned and be Negroid? And even if they're Negroid, that's fine. I have the Tudor's book, and it shows you a lot of people who was black in England who I didn't know. Because of you, my brother, I was encouraged to study, because I told you I would actually study your work. And you know what, though? The dialogue between me and Danyaahla is a very good dialogue. Maybe if I didn't call him pseudo, it wouldn't have gotten out of hand. And I wasn't kind of like disrespectful. Yeah, kind of ish. It would have been, this is good. You know why? Because the brothers came to me and he said, Garfield, I already did my presentations. If you have a response, do a response to my presentation. And once you do your presentation, I will respond to your presentation. Then we could sit down and have a dialogue or a debate or whatever. All right. Now, what happened is there's a lot of information within what he did that was extremely, extremely, extremely wrong. Pseudo, misinformation, whatever. He's not going to come out and say, I am wrong. He's not going to do that because he's a leader of men. But let me say this to everybody. I'm in love with the cocoa. Well, all right. But listen to what I'm saying, though. How comes the Jamaican wouldn't know what cocoa mean? And why did the book put cocoa cook boy in parentheses? He added that. So he's telling you what cocoa is, not cocoa. Cocoa can mean cocoa as in C-O-C-O-A, yes. But why they put cook boy in the parentheses? What were they trying to help us with? Very interesting. All right, let me continue.
So how possibly could this dark cocoa-skinned man have had a white father and a mother? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. And you are asking me why I'm not debating you? And you're asking me why won't I sit down with you? And you want to know why I didn't hurry up and respond to you? Because your research is trash. That's why. That's why. But I ain't finished.
Garfield is
I'm
trash.
not finished. Let's go to the next screen. Watch
You
this.
trash, Garfield. You
so
trash.
now from Archibald Douglas, brothers and sisters, look at the bottom of the screen. Who's Archibald Douglas's son? Archibald Douglas's son is Sir William Douglas of Nithsdale. So let's go back. Let's go back. Let's do this in order. Let's go back. So you have James Douglas, who the Dagger Squad says is a white man. When we do the research, we find out he had a son named Archibald that they said looked like Coke, was so dark they called him Coco, right? And Archibald has a son named Sir William Douglas. Y'all can see the arrow pointing to him at the bottom. Sir William Douglas of Nithsdale, brothers and sisters. Okay. What can we find out about this guy, the grandson of James Douglas? Here we have, brothers and sisters, something called the National Biography. See, I got to stop and talk to y'all again. Y'all been hearing these guys saying that we don't know what we're talking about. Y'all been hearing these guys saying that we're pseudos. Y'all been hearing these guys saying that we don't know how to read. We dealing with Douglas. Let's go to the next slide. What have we here? Douglas, Sir William, Lord of Nithsdale. This is the grandson of James Douglas. Let's read and see what it says. He died in 1392. He was the
All right. He inherited the swarthy complexion of the good Sir James and was also called the Black Douglas. All right. Are we going to go through this whole swarthy thing again? Are we really going to play this game? What does swarthy mean? I'm going to ask everybody in the audience. What does the word swarthy means? What does swarthy means? Let's take a look at it for a second. Okay. Okay. Dark colored, dark skin, dark complexion, dusky, tanned. Tanned. Olive skinned. Very interesting. So it means of a dark color, right? But it also means olive skinned. Olive skin of a person having yellowish brown skin. Wow. Let's take a look at some images here. Swarthy men. Look at this right here. This is a swarthy guy right here. Hold on a second. Portrait of a dark-haired girl, a swarthy dark-haired girl. Why? Because she's olive. You got to use a dictionary for this, family. I'm trying to figure out what was so great of what you did last night. What was it? You see, I like Dialects, man. Dialects is a guy, I like Dialects as a debater. Because, you know, he's very quick at the tongue. He responds very fast. And even when he's making up shit, he just come back hard. I like Dialects. Dialects said, everybody looks good at shadow boxing. When you by yourself, you look good. But when you get that person in front of you, ask Anthony Joshua, how was his shadow boxing before the fight with Ruiz? And when Ruiz stepped into the ring, what happened? I'm trying to figure out how in 2019 we're still arguing about swarthy. Why? Why are we doing this to ourselves? Why didn't you show the definition of swarthy? Because y'all just look at the synonyms and say dark, dark colored, dark skin, dark complexion, dusky. Don't look at dusky. They don't look at tanned. They don't look at saturnine. They don't look at olive skin. Come on, family. Come on. Come on. Come on, man. Are you serious right now? Are you making some noise? All right, so we get it. You believe the grandson is, listen to me carefully now. He believes because the grandson, listen, family, because the grandson is black, that means the grandfather is black. Listen to the logics.
The illegitimate son of Archibald, 3rd Earl of Douglas, who we just proved was so dark they called him Coco, himself the illegitimate son of the good Sir James. For comeliness and bravery, he was a worthy descendant of such ancestors, and the historians of the period described him as inheriting several of the personal features of his grandfather. He had his grandfather's features. What features did he have? Let's keep reading. Being large boned, of a great strength, tall, erect, bearing himself with a majestic mien, yet courteous and affable, and in company even hearty and merry. He inherited the swarthy complexion of the good Sir James Douglas, and also was called the Black Douglas. So this grandson of James Douglas, who, by the way, again, the Stuart family, which King James and all of them come from, are related to these people.
Okay, getting excited. They're related. All right, let me kill this real quick. Look at this, family. You see, Garfield is learning. All right, let's take a look at this right here for a second. Let's take a look. So based on your logics, he says that Black Douglas, who lived from 1200s to 1300s, has to be black because the grandson is black. Look at the logics. Let's check him out. Let's check out Danyaahla some more. Love this guy.
Okay, he destroyed all their images, right? And the blacks that were living in England, Ireland, and Scotland, he rounded them up and sold them into slavery in the Caribbean and the Americas, and I can prove it, and I will in my 4-hour lecture. That's what happened to the images and us in Europe, as this is a fact, all right? Let's move on. I don't want to stay too long. Y'all get the general gist of this, and you'll see this slide again as we go on later. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, here's another one we want to look at, right? This is a question, without me giving too much away for the lecture coming up, this is a question that I have. The man that you're looking at on the screen is James III, okay? It says, will the real James III please stand up? So we have a question, we have a debate now. Who's really James III? I say the guy on the left is fake. I say the guy on the right is the real guy. The guy on the right is black. The guy on the left is a Caucasian. I say the guy on the right is the real James III. Who is James III? Well, let me break down the history for you. You had
Hey, F. Dane Foster, do me a favor. I think I wanna recruit you to be on the Dagger Squad, bro. Hit me up in my inbox. I need to talk to you. Damon Mitchell, all of it is an army green. Really, Damon Mitchell? Which planet are you from? All right. And by the way, if you're respectful on my timeline, I have no problem with you making your comments, whether we agree or disagree. Bear in mind, and neither do the administrators. As long as you're not being disrespectful. And I got to talk to Danyaahla too, because there's somebody in his chat. You know what? I don't even need to talk to him about it. I'm going to just go see that person myself. Because sometimes you got to see somebody in person. I remember this Hebrew Israelite brother. He was saying some stuff at a lecture, right, with Danyaahla and Hashar. And when I saw him in D.C., I gave him £1. I spoke to him about it. He hugged me, and we good. I see him in the chat yesterday saying some very foul things. Now, if I'm against Hebrew Israelites, I'm against the teachings and that we are not Hebrew Israelites. I think it's a lie. That is from my research. I don't have to say, hey, you know what? That dude over there is a faggot, or he sells weed, or his nose is too big, or, you know, all the immature shit. You could say even that, my nose is too big. But when you start dipping into something personal over the border, it's like somebody talking about your mother or whatever. That is over the border. There are certain things you shouldn't do on the internet. I'm not saying that you can't do it, but just be careful, because you have too many people on the internet. And I'm learning to, because I do it sometimes. I'm guilty of it too. And I'm learning to be better, because some of the things we say on the internet, we would not say it to people's face. So if you can't say it in somebody's face, you shouldn't even say it at all. Stop being keyboard gangsters, because it's unnecessary. All right? But anyway, let's get back to the teaching.
King James, the famous King James, the 6th and the 1st, right? He died. His son, Charles I, came into power, right? Charles I was beheaded by Oliver Cromwell, a guy we just read about, because he hated the Stuart family. He finally was able to get a hold of power, and he beheaded King Charles I, and Oliver Cromwell came into power. When Oliver Cromwell died, his son came into power, but his son was a coward. So what his son did was his son brought back the Stuart family, and you had Charles II that came and sat on the throne, which was the grandson of King James. Again, you had King James, you had Charles I, you had Charles II. Charles II died, and his brother came into power, James II, right? And after James II died, this guy on the screen, James III, came into power. My question to James White and Vocab Malone and all the rest of these clowns is, if King James was white, if Charles I was white, if Charles II was white, if James III was white, how the hell did they get a black grandson? Explain that to me. How the hell did they do it? I want to know. And this image is a real image. It's not something that somebody made up in a dark room somewhere. That is Charles III. And if he was already white, why did they feel the need to repaint the image and make it whiter? Because then you can look at that and you can see the Negroid features in the one on the right. The broad nose, the full lips, the brown face.
All right, enough of the foolishness. All right. Now, he says that Garfield is pseudo, right? Now, this is where he got the picture from, by the way. All right? He doesn't do his own research. He copied from a website. Then he tells people that Garfield don't know how to research. All right? But anyway, now this white guy, so because they both have on some armor, that means the pick is whitewashed. You see, watching this scholarship, I realized one thing: pseudos will always win, because misinformation rules. I'm telling you. Now, this is the auction of the portrait. It says portrait of a mulatto in armor. This is French. All right, somebody translated it for me. All right. All right. So now we see some other pictures that the gentleman had made. He had other pictures with people in armor also. All right. There you see one right here with armor and so forth. Now, James III, the same guy, this is some more portraits of him from the National Portrait of England. Here's some more right here. See the sources at the bottom, right? Okay, NPG. All right. Now, I'm going to go to the same source that he just used because they have over 60 volumes. He said it's a primary, right? Now, look at this. The departure of Charles from Rome was secret, but the English government was at once informed of the fact. As the prince passed through the Florence, Sir Horace Mann drew his portrait and sent it to the Duke of Newcastle. The young man is above the middle height and very thin. He wears a light bag wig. His face is rather long, the complexion clear, but borders on paleness. The forehead very broad, the eyes fairly large, blue, but without sparkle. Very interesting. So this young man is pale. He wears a light bag wig. His face is rather long, the complexion clear, but borders on paleness. Seems like they're describing this young man right here. See that? Border on paleness. Not this young man here. But check this out now. It gets even deeper, family. It gets even deeper. I'm not even going to play that. But he used this pseudo thing right here, which flattened the person's nose and made their lips big. He doesn't want to respond to this. This is why he don't want to sit down with Garfield, because he's going to be put on blast and over 30 to 40,000 people going to watch that debate. So instead of being blasted in his own community, let me hide behind my internet and don't let Garfield get the link so I could hide from these questions that he would ask me and put me on blast. Now, this is he got this picture from the same pseudo website, realhistorywww.com. Realhistorywww.com. Let's take a look at realhistorywww.com for a second. All right. Watch this, family. Watch Garfield go to work. We look at this picture and we say, okay, where did he get this picture from, man? So I Google searched it. The only place where I found it was the Africa Resource website and the realhistorywww.com website. All right, this is what they put up. Elizabeth of Bohemia, daughter of King James VI of Scotland, and whatever. So this is King James' daughter, right? The pick or coin, I said, might be legit until I see a primary source is difficult. The nose looks altered, right? I gave him a little respect. This is her images from the archives that they have, all right? See her little breast pushing out right there. You see how her nose look? Look at her nose compared to the nose on here. You see why they flattened it to make it look like a big fat nose? This is the history. This is what this guy wants to teach the community. You see why I said I use the term Hebrew scholastic shams? Look at her picture here. Look at her picture in her nose. All right? All right, so here we go. According to the enthusiastic testimony, the minister who married her at Upslow, Anne was at this time. Oh, by the way, we're talking about Anne right now. Anne, King James' wife. Right? We're talking about Anne, King James' wife right now. Just for the record. Her at Upslow. Anne was at this time a beautiful girl. Even in later times, her white skin and yellow hair were admired through Osborne in his traditional memoirs. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me just say this. Let me just say this carefully here. Queen consort, according to the style adopted by her husband, King James I. So he was in an interracial marriage then, if he was a black man. But I just proved that the logic says if the great-grandson is white or black or grandson, whatever he was, that means the grandfather was white. Going back to your logic about Sir Douglas. You see the logic, family? Look at this scholarship right here. Let me go to the number one pseudo of them all. This one right here. Right here. See? Look at this picture right here. If you notice again what the real history www.com website did is they eliminated the person who have no top lip or bottom lip. They photoshopped this. And this is what he's bringing to the community as truth. People got to realize something here. This is not truth. This is garbage. Garbage. We need to make this clear.
Let it roll, get bold. I just can't hold back or fold, cause I'm a man with soul, in control and effects. So what the heck? Rock the discotheques, and this groove is what's next. This is what we gonna do. Speak the truth, speak the truth. You need to understand this. Straight shot, no, I can't miss. Are you just talking? Therefore, I do this here often. One of the biggest mistakes you ever could make is disrespecting the greatness. You may have never heard this before. One more for the playlist, tell them what to do. This is what we gonna do. shot, no, I can't miss. Are you just talking? Therefore, I do this here often. One of the biggest mistakes you ever could make is disrespecting the greatness. You mean I've never heard this before? One more for the playlist, tell them what to do. Cool, thanks, kudos, real talk, not for the pseudos. Trust the kid, real talk, I debunked the myth. Sit still, don't run from this. That's a wise man told me. Watch for the fakes and the phonies. You gotta be cautious. Listen and open your conscience. People be talking that nonsense, chattering. That's when the daggers are stopping.
Okay.
This is what we gonna do.
Speak the truth. Speak the truth.
You need to understand.
Me and my brother Zion.
Are you just talking?
Zaza Ali.
One of the biggest mistakes you ever could make is disrespecting.
Red pill in the house. One more for the pain. Malcolm X's daughter.
Speak the truth. Speak the truth. You need to understand. Straight shot, no, I can't miss. Are you just talking? Therefore, I do this here often. One of the biggest mistakes you ever could make is disrespecting the greatness. You may have never heard this before. One more for the playlist.
Tell them what to do. People dead.
All right. Now let's look at a couple of examples of how they destroy our art, right? Both of the guys on the screen are supposed to be a guy by the name of Ethelbert, which is one of the great progenitors to the Anglo-Saxon kingdom. On the left-hand side, you have a picture of Ethelbert that was painted in the mid-1400s and sits at the College Chapel of Oxford University, right? This is Ethelbert, right? But on the right-hand side of the screen, you have the same guy. If you look at the writing above the thing, it's telling you that that is Ethelbert too. But he has woolly hair, a full nose, and big lips. So the question is, if Ethelbert, one of the progenitors or forerunners of the Anglo-Saxons, if he was really a white man, then why did they feel the need to change the image that was found on the coin to the image that's found on the left, which is a Renaissance image? Why did they have to change the image of somebody to white that was already white? Now, is there anybody that can't see the guy on the right is black? Everybody can see that. So they've been destroying it. And this is, by the way, in England. This is early England. So right here, you can clearly see that they've been destroying our art. This is pre-Renaissance. The Renaissance started when? Around 1453? This is pre-Renaissance. They was destroying our image as they came into power. Very, very important to understand this concept.
Methodology, baby. Research methodology. Damn. Now, I responded to the brother, right? Now, once I saw that, I'm like, it's over. I can't trust nothing else that he put out. So what I did is I found these people. They're called the Prosopography of Anglo-Saxon England, PACE. It's a database which aims to provide structured information relating to all the recorded inhabitants of England from the late 6th to the late 11th century. It is based on a systematic examination of the available written sources for the period, including chronicles, saints' lives, charters, libri, vitae, inscriptions, doomsday book, and coin, and is intended to serve as a research tool suitable for a wide range of users with an interest in this period. Now, let's take a look here. And by the way, the Ethelbert that he talked about, there's 3 different Ethelberts. All right. This is the actual picture, the image. Let me go to here. There's one Ethelbert. The one on the left was actually this guy. He was born 552, died in 616. Then there's another Ethelbert, who birth is unknown. He died in 794. Right? That might be the one that we're talking about. Then there's another one who died around 781 or 782. So there's 3 different Ethelberts. I don't know why he didn't even know that. There's three of them. All right. Source was the Catholic Encyclopedia, by the way. Now, this is the image that he showed. You could tell no lip, no upper lip, no bottom lip. The nose was made larger. The whole face looks like a lion in a head. And the nose was, the eyes was blocked out with the Photoshop. He never once said, you know what? Is there something wrong with this picture? I'm going to be honest with you. It was very hard for me to find the primary. In fact, the day before I presented at Sarnetta, I didn't even have this. It just so happened, it just so happened I was up late at night and I saw it. I caught it. And this is the original. And look at what the person did. They changed up the whole image. The person knows. everything. And this is his scholarship. So now this is my job to point out the wrong. This is where you could find the primary. It's right there. That's the primary right there. See that? You see that top lip, bottom lip, a regular nose, eyes, ears. Come on. Let's look at the great scholarship of this guy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm about to play, I'm gonna play something right now that's going to be very humorous. All right, and I want you guys to pay attention. Now look at this.
Now you have another very, very famous king of the Anglo-Saxons. As a matter of fact, he is the most famous king of the Anglo-Saxons. This guy's name is Athelstan, okay? Athelstan is the most famous king of the Anglo-Saxons. He was very rich. He had many wives. It was to the point where he thought that he was even greater than Solomon was, the same way that Charlemagne thought he was greater than Solomon was as well. On the left-hand side, you see an image of Athelstan on a stained glass window in a church in England. But on the right-hand side, and I give you the source, the book that I got this from is a book called the Oxford Illustrated History of British Monarchy. On the right-hand side, you also see the image of King Athelstan and Saint Cuthbert. Now let's start on the right-hand side. Look at Saint Cuthbert. Look at his face. Look at his neck. Look at his feet. Look at his hands. That's a black man. And he has an afro. And the same thing goes for Athelstan. Compare his face to Saint Cuthbert's face. Compare Athelstan's face to the white garment that he's wearing. It's clear that he's a black man with an afro. Now again, because they were whitewashing and Renaissance in the pictures, you could clearly see that they was messing with this picture, but it still remains black. They weren't able to completely destroy this. And this is not meant for public consumption. So they put it in historical books. By the way, when you get the cover of Oxford Illustrated A History of British Monarchy, and you can actually Google it yourself when you get a chance, when you get the image, they make sure that black people will never pick that book up and buy it, because the images on the front are all Renaissance images. So a black person will never pick up the book and look through the book. But when you get this book, there's a lot of black icons, statues, coins, and pictures of the British kings and rulers all throughout that book. But you'll never pick it up if you don't research. You look at the cover and be like, that has nothing to do with us. All right, next slide. Now, this is a close-up again of the picture of Athelstan and St. Cuthbert, right? And Athelstan was the greatest Anglo-Saxon king that ever lived. Now, I want to go into a little bit of the etymology of the word Anglo-Saxon, because it is taught in this country that when you hear the word Anglo, it's automatically associated with white people. But that's for people that don't study. The word Anglo actually means angelic. And the word Saxon breaks down to sons of Isaac. Who was the angelic son of Isaac? The angelic son of Isaac was Jacob. Remember, Isaac had two sons, Jacob and Esau. Esau was rejected. Jacob was chosen. So Jacob is the angelic son of Isaac. The original Anglo-Saxons were dispersed Israelites. They were so-called black people. The word Anglo does not mean white. That is a lie. When you get into looking into things like surnames and other things, you're going to find out that that word Anglo-Saxon has nothing to do with white.
All right. I apologize for putting you through that, but I just had to play it. All right. All right. Now, where did he get this Isaac and Saxon and angelic? He got it from this guy here by the name of Herbert Armstrong. I used to watch him in Jamaica as a kid. So now, by removing the letter I from Isaac, Herbert Armstrong derives the word sack, which combined with the word son to form Saxon. Yo, that is British. His logic is that I should be removed as the Hebrews omitted the vowels in their writing. This, of course, should also require the A's to be removed too, but the name Isaac is in reality anyway a Latinized form of the Hebrew name Yitzhak. You know, Yitzhak Rabin, which would be significantly more difficult for Armstrong to twist. Berith is Hebrew for the word covenant. So while Ish is Hebrew for man, if you join the two British Israelites claim you obtain the word British, which means men of the covenant. There is, however, no significant relationship between Hebrew and English. Oh man, one thing is certain, Saxon is not related to Hebrew Yitzhak, which sounds nothing like Sax. In Hebrew, the word for son is Ben, as in Benjamin. The form sons of Isaac would be expressed in Hebrew as Beni Yitzhak, sons of Jacob, Beni Yaakov. Certainly not Sax or sons. It boggles the mind that Israelite tribes allegedly lost centuries before Christ would adopt a name that is a contraction of a fairly modern English grammatical construction based on the Greek form of the name of Israel's father. Oh man, pseudo as they get. Now, this is the primary source, right? He's saying the guy has an afro, he has a halo, right? Because the picture in the book is actually bad. So in his defense, you know, that's that. All right. But let's look at this now. Are these black men or are they white men? He's saying that, oh, you only see one way that they're black. Why they can't? So the white spot on his head. So they dyed that white to make that look, oh man. So that was a black spot. So his skull was black. Oh man. The oil and the paint. Those are the things you got to study and know about, man. Come on, brother, man. See the white spot on the head. Oh man. Whew. Oh man, oh man, oh man. All right, let me get out of here for a minute and and give y'all a break from this. This is sad. This is why he doesn't want to sit with Garfield, because all these things got to be answered for. He has to admit that I screwed up. I'm really pseudo. Garfield is pseudo, but I'm double pseudo. He can't come out and teach that. All right. Let me see something real quickly here. So King James was with a white woman. One of his grandkids are down the line was white. We have this image here, King George and the penny. I'm not going to go through that today. All right. And by the way, he made a statement that right here. Let me go back up here. And yeah, because yesterday he said that a lot of Hebrew Israelites use sacredtext.com. And if you look at Tacitus Germania, he does describe them according to sacredtext.com that the population have fierce blue eyes and red hair. So that means sacred text, their translators were off. Because I saw him bring up something yesterday about what they look like. In Germania, he's saying what the Germans look like. I don't know if he was talking about the Germans or the people. But we got to be very, very careful here. Extremely careful. All right. I'm going to, you know, it's crazy. Shout out to my bad teacher from Yard, Mitts in the building on Facebook, telling them what that looked like. But this is what I'm trying to say, though. We got to be careful with these guys and the information they push out. I'm just like a watchdog for the community, man. That's all I'm doing. Just make sure your shit is right. All right. This is the wife of Jane Seymour, was the wife of King Henry. You know, this is just pointing out that she actually was also white. She had a pale complexion. And one thing I want to say, though, two things that are important with King James. I could show you his lineage saying that they are white. Right? But I could also show you his DNA, right? His DNA, when they did it, how did they get his DNA? Because a descendant of Charles II, a male lineage came down. And that's how they got his DNA. His DNA leads back to M269. That's to the Caucasus Mountains. Whether he's black or white, he really doesn't connect to the ancient Near East. He doesn't connect to Africa. He doesn't connect there. All right, just for the record. So his DNA, we have a sample from a relative, a male that came down the line through Charles II. Just for the record, so everybody is clear on the genealogy of King James. So we have genetics that he's not what you call it, that he's not Asiatic. He doesn't have any connection to that region. All right. Now, if he did have a connection, he would have this, the V88, the R1B1A2, and he would have come down this way. All right. All right. I'm gonna yeah. So basically, the DNA results. The center of this line of stores belong to the RM269Y DNA haplogroup and test positive for a specific Y DNA signature. So that means they did what's called a biallelic testing. Yo, listen, man. I'm also gonna play one more video and then I'm done. I'm gonna play one more video and I'm done. Oh, I gotta teach something from here real quickly. That's very important, and this is why I call out all the Hebrew Israelites, and I want to break down something to everybody real carefully. All right, the reason why my brother is into British Israelism, which is started by the white man, by the way, and pushed by Herbert Armstrong, stole his idea about sons of Isaacs and all that bullshit. The reason is because we feel we're part of a lost tribe of Israel. All right. And this, I want everybody, all fun and jokes aside, this is serious right now, what I'm about to talk about. All right. And before I do that, I want to say that we have 400 manuscripts. None was written in Hebrew. And this is an Indo-European language. It's not related to the Semitic family. So there's no form of connection as far as that is concerned. All right. All right. So let me talk about the lost tribes of Israel for a second. Right. The lost 10 tribes, the Assyrians claim on their records that they kidnapped 27,000. Okay. When you look at here in 2 Samuel's 24:9, the military men of age in northern Israel was 800,000. It didn't count the women. It didn't count the older men, the older females. It didn't count the children. So we could put the estimate. I would be fair by saying, let's say it's 1.6 million the Bible population. Let's just say it's 1.6 million. Anybody disagree with that? Anybody would disagree with that? All right. Let's say it's 1.6 million for a minute. All right. Check this out. So if it's 1.6 million, what happened during that time period? Let's go to this website. It's called Dwindling Unbelief. During the 1.6 million, the 800,000, God had fought Israel. He had put Israel against Judah. So 500,000 of the men had died. So 1.6 million minus 500,000 leave 1.1 million, right? When you look at population growth and all that stuff. All right. So we have 1.1 million. We have 27,000 that was taken out as captives. Let's say it's 40,000. Let's say it's a million. So we would have 1 million people left inside of where it's called Israel today. Some migrated into Judah. The archaeology and the anthropology proves that, right? Now, I should say the anthropology, not the archaeology. The anthropology proves that. All right. So because they migrated. So now we have 1 million people left, an estimate, left in Israel. These are the tribes that are left in Israel. The members of the tribes are members or people that live there. What happened to those million people? If you are lost, what happened to them? The 27,000 that was taken there, the 13,000 to Persia, the 40,000 people, we found, as a matter of fact, a scholar, an Old Testament scholar sent me some primaries for my book. And in the primaries, he showed me the 28 settlements where the Israelites settled in Babylon, in Assyria, in Assyrian Empire, but really where Babylon is, and showed me where the settlements are. So they had 28 settlements. This was before Nebuchadnezzar. So the 28 settlements, plus they found people with Yahwistic names, Israelites, in the Assyrian army. So we know where they went. We have it documented. They ain't going to no so-called Azareth and went to Spain and all this BS. We know where they went. So there's no lost tribes. What we're trying to figure out now is the people that came back. Is two theories Garfield have. This is Garfield theory. You could throw it out all you want. The people who were the Persian colonists that went back to Judah in Ezra and Nehemiah, I don't remember which book it is, but you see that they're teaching a form of Judaism that the people are not familiar with. So when they came back, whether it's under the Persian priesthood or what. Remember, you had 1 million people still left in Israel. Where are those people today? They still live there. Some of them migrated, some of them moved because of war or whatever. But where did they go after the Assyrians left? Think about it for a second. Those 1 million people that left in Israel, they lived there. They continue to live there. We don't have no records in the Bible say they went anywhere. So we could assume that they continue to live in that region. So if they continue to live in that region, right, they never had any more kings under them. They would have vassals, that vassal kings that the Assyrians would assign, the Babylonians would assign, the Persians would assign, and so forth, right? They never pushed anybody out of that region until Nebuchadnezzar went to Judah and offered the people land, income producing land. So what happened to the people in Israel? Where did they go? Where did they go, family? Hold on one second. Hey, let me call you back because I'm live. All right. All right. All right. So family. All right. Oh man, these people are just so jumpy. Oh man. All right. So anyway, so now, family, where did those people go? Because we know where the ones that the Assyrians took. The Assyrians took them to be in their army and also to help build up their nation. They gave them settlements. We have settlements. We have the Igibi files. We have the Al Yahuda tablets. We have the Murashu tablets. We have a continuation of these people living in that region of Babylon. Where you think the Babylon Talmudic schools come from? Come on, family. These are real Judeans. And you are not connected to them. I'm talking to you, Hebrew Israelites. You, divine prospect, spreading this damn propaganda. You, Danyaahla. You, Hashar. Yeah, it may have taken you out of the condition that you were in. But come on now, divine, come on. Let's keep it real. You don't believe half the stuff that these crazy people believe. Well, let me go even further because I want to play a video just to prove a point. All right. Here's a video on Maccabees TV I want to play. Here's a video I do want to play. He did a video the other day, right? And the reason why they run from this, I'm telling you why they run from it. They run from DNA. The reason why they run from it, family, because DNA kills them and they don't understand it. I'm very basic when it comes to DNA. I'm at a basic level. I'll admit that. I will admit that. But I'm not that crazy where I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's check this out.
I don't know what happened. So we're going to start over. And I'm not going to be long because it's money time. Y'all see what time it is behind me, right? Y'all see what time it is behind me? It's money time. It's time for me to get that money. You know what I'm talking about? My apologies. I don't know what happened, family. So I said, I'm going to start all over again. If you in the building and you ain't give your brother a thumbs up, shame on you, man. I'm taking time away from getting this money and talk to the family. Yo, can I get a thumbs up or what? If you in the building, can I get a thumbs up or what? Nah, I don't know what's going on. I got like 4 or 5 bars. So I'm not sure why the stream went. It might go again. Maybe we dropping too much heat up in this bad boy. I don't know. You know? Anyway, I'm going to start over. So for those of you that haven't been paying attention, the new spiel for the conscious community now is to attack Israelites over DNA. If you haven't taken a DNA test, then how do you know you're an Israelite? Well, first of all, as usual, the hypocrisy is amazing to me. You Negroes call yourself Egyptian and everything else and haven't taken no damn DNA test to compare yourself to Amun-Ra, Amenhotep, or nobody else, okay? You guys haven't compared your DNA to SETI. You haven't compared your DNA test to.
Okay. You know what? I'm not even going to do that right now. I'm going to let him continue talking.
Anybody in Egypt. right? But you have the audacity to tell us that we have to take a DNA test to prove that we're Israelites. First of all, let me tell you why that's pseudo. I said it in the last video. I'm going to say it again. If you are using DNA testing solely to tell somebody who they are, you are pseudo. Let's use the Native Americans as an example. We were taught in school that the Native Americans crossed a land bridge and came over to the Americas. That's what we were taught. We were taught that Native Americans crossed the land bridge from Asia and came over to the Americas. And yeah, we about to get money. You see where I'm at, so I'm kind of talking quick because I want to go get my money, right? Yeah, we were taught that Native Americans crossed the land bridge and they came over to the Americas, right?
Look at, you see Tazaria comment?
When you look amongst the Native Americans,
laugh my ass off.
You see Asian customs amongst the Native Americans? The Native American purification customs, do those come from Asia? Their marriage customs, do those come from Asia? The high holy days they keep, do those come from Asia? The language they spoke, do those come from Asia? The archaeology that they found amongst the Native Americans, is it predominantly from Asia? And I'm talking about, when I say Asia, I'm talking about China and all those places today we call China mainly, etc., Mongolia, etc. Does the archaeology and anthropology amongst the Native Americans match what we were taught in school? The answer is no. But the conscious community, who likes to call everybody else pseudo, is going to take all the primary sources and resources that have been found, and they're going to throw it in the garbage and tell us that we only can know who the Native Americans are based on DNA.
Now, I could tell just by him talking. I don't know. I'm not an expert on DNA, but I'm at the basic level, and he's very sub-basic. Just by how he's talking, I could tell. But let's get it on.
That's what they tell us. Okay. When you look amongst those of us that come over from West Africa, right? You have oral traditions amongst the West Africans, especially in Ghana, amongst the West Africans that say that they migrated from Israel to West Africa. That's an oral tradition amongst the Africans. Now, the conscious community say we should return to our African roots and our African traditions. Then the minute you bring up the oral traditions amongst the West Africans that say we come from Israel, they say that's
you see he trying to be disrespectful?
See,
look at him.
To our African roots.
You see, you hear that? So when I go in, nobody complains.
Tradition amongst the Africans. Now the conscious community say we should return to our African roots and our African traditions.
Very
then
interesting.
The minute you bring up the oral traditions amongst the West Africans that say we come from Israel, they say that's pseudo. See, these guys are playing games. And we're not playing games. You guys have no basis to talk to nobody about, no methodology or nothing, because your methodology is false. You cannot prove who someone is based on DNA alone. Now, I might have genetic markers that might match somebody somewhere in West Africa, in the Congo, or in Ghana, or in Liberia, or someplace like that. I may have genetic markers that match those people in that geographic area today, but you cannot prove that those people didn't migrate there from somewhere else before. So that my markers, my genetic markers matching their genetic markers doesn't prove who I am. These guys are playing games. Then when I begin to ask them, okay, what does these companies do with your DNA when they're finished with it? Y'all see I'm wearing my Game of Thrones hat. I don't care what y'all say. I know some of y'all don't like the Game of Thrones. I rock with the Game of Thrones. How many of y'all know the Game of Thrones is based on the War of the Roses? The series The Game of Thrones is based on a period in history called the War of the Roses, loosely based. And that was us. But that's another show. That's another show. Yeah. Anyway, because Ghana's a modern name, Sean Dent. Ghana's a modern name. So DNA testing cannot tell you who you are. You might find genetic markers that are similar to people living in certain regions within Africa, and that might tell you where one of the last places your family was before you were kidnapped and brought to the Americas. But DNA does not tell you who you are.
All right. Let me let it play some more.
I was watching a video a couple of minutes ago on Saner's channel. He had a brother on there who I actually like. And the brother said that the real Jews are the people of the so-called Jews that live in Yemen and Iraq based on DNA. Yet, when I go and I look, one of the oldest synagogues in the world is a synagogue by the name of Dura Europos. And the archaeology that was found in Dura Europos was taken and it was put in a museum in Damascus, Syria. And when you go and you look at the images on the wall, particularly the image of Moses leading the children of Israel out of Egypt, crossing the Red Sea, and the archaeologists say this is one of the oldest synagogues in the world. When you go to the Damascus Museum.
All right, sorry for the torture. I could tell there's a couple of things I got to address here. Ladies and gentlemen, when you take a DNA, remember you have three type of testing that they use. The main type of testing that they do is paternal, which is your Y DNA. That means your father, straight father, go all the way back into time. Okay. The maternal DNA test is the mtDNA, mitochondrial DNA test. It's the mother, all the way back. Now the autosomal DNA is kind of tricky because it's everybody that's in between. African ancestry don't do that. African ancestry traces you either paternally or maternally. They actually paternally trace you back to a tribe, which is very unique because they have the most samples in Africa. Now, let me break down something to you guys about DNA. Now, listen to this carefully now, family. All right. The oral traditions of West Africa is very important, but they have been compromised. All right. I don't know if everybody could see this on the screen. I don't know if I could make it bigger. Let me do this. All right. West African sources. This is talking about oral tradition. Several West African traditions indicate a genealogical connection between Black Africans and the ancient Canaanites. Mohammed Bello, scholar and second Sultan of Sokoto in Hausaland, wrote a history of the Yoruba in 1812. He included this account of Yoruba origins. The people of the lands of Yoruba are from the remnants of the people of the Banu Canaan, who were the tribe of Nimrod. You know, in the Bible, there's no tribe of Nimrod, but they got that from Islam because Nimrod, I guess he's in Islam. The reason for their dwelling in the West, based upon what has been narrated, is that Urab ibn Qatan drove them out from Iraq towards the West. They then journeyed between the lands of Egypt and Abyssinia until they reached the lands presently known as Yoruba. In every land in which they passed, they left behind a group of their people in that land. It is said that the indigenous blacks who reside in the mountains of Nuba in this region is from them. Likewise are the people of Yaru from them. All right, so we have different stories and different traditions, right? But listen to what Robin Law writes. Older scholarship accepted the historicity of these migration stories. The consensus, Danyaahla, listen up. The consensus of scholarship today, however, does not. Robin Law and others have concluded that the Yoruba stories are legendary. The more general view nowadays is that these traditions of migration from the Middle East are to be explained by the expansion of the influence of Islam in sub-Saharan Africa in relatively recent times. The concern of African peoples to claim origin from Islamic world reflects no more than a desire to relate themselves to what was seen as prestigious world civilization. Similarly, Murray Lass wrote of the Hausa accounts in the Kano Chronicle that they're almost wholly legendary, reflecting 16th or 17th century anachronisms. An indication of the Islamic influence is the adoption of various Muslim traditions and personalities in these stories of origin. As Law has shown, these traditions and personalities were adapted even to fashion stories that legitimate opposition to Islam. All right, I'm not going to read no more of this book. It's pretty deep. It's pretty deep. And I'm going to say this. we got to understand oral tradition better for us to make certain claims. All right. Now, his other point now that he made another point that when somebody stops in one area and they go to another area, the DNA is not going to pick that up. That is not true. Okay. Now, there's an E marker that we have, right? It's called E1B1A, right? E1B1A. All right. Let me see if there's any images of E1B1A. All right. Okay. Damn, you know which map I'm looking for? I'm looking for here we go. Here's actually a good picture. This is a good picture right here. This is a good one, and that's a good one. That's a good picture, and this is a good picture. I don't know if I could make this bigger though. Can I make it bigger? All right. All right. Let me make this bigger for the audience so y'all could see what I'm talking about. So I could make this is what I was trying to do yesterday, and I couldn't. All right. You see this mark, you have the M96. These are different names that they use, but let's use the E marker. The E marker, we're in Africa right now, starts in the east. So the E marker would be like right here, where you see these two colors branching off. So this is the original E marker, which they claim started in East Africa, not in the Middle East, not in Asia, not in North America. The E marker, this is the root of E1B1A. What happened is, family, when we went down this way, E1B1A branched off in two directions. Okay? You have in West Africa, E1B1A got here like around 14,000 years ago. Okay? 14,000 years ago. That's what the sequence in the DNA tells us. 14,600 to be actually exact. Now, when you take a DNA test, right? Your primary area that you grew up in is where your last resort, as he said, your main area that you grew up in is where your DNA is going to be identified with the most. All right? Let me show a quick example. National Geographic. Let me go to my dashboard and let me scroll all the way down. All right, let's scroll. Okay. All right. All right. Explore your results. Nah, I don't want that. All right. So let's go to here. All right. So this is my results right here. As you see, West African 84%, right? Then it tells me, where my identity is identified with. So it says here, right? Northern Europe, 3%. Then Eastern Europe, 4%. Then it says West Africa, 84%. Then it says over East Africa, 2%. Now, why is there different regions to where Garfield comes from? Now, bear in mind, family, yeah, this is the Middle East. This is J markers or whatever. All right. So now look at this right here now. Why does Garfield have different areas where he has a background from? Because of the travel of the people that I had probably the autosomal test with. Because the people who are in my father's line, because this is actually my father's line, I believe. Those people were mixed with those individuals. So that could be the reason, or it could be the slave master mixing. Because remember, I have slave masters in my family line that comes from this region right here, Southern Europe. Yeah, Southern Europe. What's this? Yeah. So it's from Southern Europe. So this lineage right here. So when he says that if you were in West Africa, we were somewhere else before, maybe that's where my line was. My line was probably in East Africa. Or this could be my mom's lineage, because everybody is a L3. So we always go back to East Africa anyway, because that's the mother of the whole planet, Homo sapiens sapien. All right. Let's do another example. Let's look at living DNA. Let's look at living DNA and see what they say about Garfield, your friend Garfield. All right. Let's take a look. Living DNA. I'm gonna log in. I'm gonna look at the results. Then I'm gonna go to another test. See if I could find another test real quick. View test results. All right. So here we go. We have the family. Your overview: 91% African, 88 cents, whatever. This is my mother's line. Of course, L3. This is my father's line, or my Y line, E1B1A. So explore in full. All right. Coverage map. See the coverage map, different groups, whatever. All right. That's pretty. I mean, let me look at this right here. History. They could tell you your history. Who were the people who carried your signature? Bantu people, whatever. Living DNA doesn't have a, I would say like a, I would say where we want it to be as far as other DNA people. So this is where they say I migrated from. So as you see, this is my route. See? You see the map? Let me come out of here again. Let me press coverage map, and I want you to look at the migration map. This is what I wanted to show yesterday. This is my route, where man started from. Then we went to E, and E branched off to go down to South Africa, and some went to West Africa. All right? So you see, this is where my journey from. My journey as a man on the male line, the father line, E1B1A. So when you saw the other stuff, that was the intermixture of the mother's line. All right. So so when people tell you, listen to me carefully. When these ancients tell you sometimes they migrated from the east, technically they did. Because people with E1B1A migrated from the east. All right. E started right here. This is in Nubia, right here. So boom, they went to South Africa and they went to West Africa. All right. I hope everybody understand. I knew you were a goddamn Edenite. It's you funny, man. So this is living DNA. I like this map, this migration map. I like this. That's why I brought it up, actually. Then I have ancestry DNA. Let's go to ancestry. And by the way, I'm West African, 91% according to them. All right. Let me see. Let's go to ancestry.com. See if I could sign in. Welcome, Garfield. View full results. Okay. DNA story for Garfield. Which other test did I take again? I took 23andMe, family tree DNA. There's two more. There's two more that I'm missing. Oh man. All right. So this is what they say right here. So they're primarily saying that Garfield, you have this mixture here. You're pretty much a Western Central African, and you're 80-something%. All right, when you add them up. See, 39 plus 38, 79, Ivory Coast, Nigeria, So I'm pretty much over 80%. All right. Let's get out of here. Let me leave Danyaahla alone. I'm done with Danyaahla right now. If anybody is, what time is it now? 9:59. Damn, I've been talking a lot. But I want to say something about this website right here real quickly. It's called Dwindling Unbelief. It's a blog spot. And it shows you all the killings that God did, right? And I always ask everybody, how many people has the devil killed? Is God always killing people? Why is that? So these are all the people that died under God's watch, right? I'll call you back, Will. Now look at this. Ethiopians were Hamites, right? Am I correct? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. God said during the count, he was counting, doing a census. God killed 1 million Ethiopians. 2 Chronicles 14:9-14. 1 million, according to the biblical text. And Ethiopia is Cush. So he killed some sub-Saharan Africans. How nice, God. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for killing our people. You're the greatest of all. Greatest. Real good. Let's look at even his own people. Look at the total. 2,821,000 on one part. Another part says 24 million. It's craziness. I think that's probably an error. But it's okay. It's probably an error. I don't know. All right. All right. Well, anyway, anybody wants to call in, now is the time to get Garfield if you have any comments. I wanted to talk about the some deal gray thing, right? And break it down to the people why the sentence says why Garfield came to the connection of gray face. I need to actually do that, but it's so boring. I don't know if I want to do that. It's so boring to do that. Let me see if I still have my presentation up. All right. All right. So DNA, and let me also stress to everybody, if you do take a DNA, Danyaahla, and you are from the East, there is a gentleman who traced back to the he as a Hebrew Israelite. It's an unlikely person in America. I won't say his name, but a very unlikely person is Jewish. He's a Hebrew. We trust it. When we talk about the Lemba originally, we trusted it. When we talk about the Ethiopians, we trusted it, although they both found out that they're not actually connected. But at the end of the day, though, take the test so you could have an idea of your roots. The reason why I took so many tests, because I wanted to get an idea of my roots, and I also wanted to study each company's. He is right about one thing, though, about the companies not using your DNA or whatever. It's just like when we are born. They take our DNA from the child that's in your mother's womb without you even knowing. And some states preserve it. Some states claim they throw it away. So they actually have all of our DNAs. If you're born after the 60s, from the 60s on, they've been collecting our DNA. All right, just to let you know that. Okay. Now with Stuart, the Stuart line and King James, the way they trace their roots, it actually goes along with the tradition of the Stuart line. It actually goes the same way how the oral tradition goes of how they got there and everything. So the DNA actually did trace properly to the Caucasus Mountains because that's where they come from. Whether he's black or white is irrelevant because that's where his roots is. It's not in Africa, and it's not in the Middle East or West Asia. All right. And DNA can tell you to go to the actual root of where you're from, my brother. All right. As far as migration, it will tell you if you migrated. As long as you're interacting with people and your bloodline, you move to an area, you interact with the people in that area, you definitely will, and it definitely will tell you that. All right. Let me see what else. Oh, I wanted to do this. Some Deal Gray. Who was Some Deal Gray again? That was who was that? That was James Douglas, right? Here we go. All right. All right. Let's look at the Some Deal Gray statement for a second. But it is only with Barber's description of his complexion that we have to go by here. And this, he says, was Some Deal Gray is here being black. Let's go to the actual quote. If I have the actual quote, that would be good. If not, I'm going to have to deal with this another time. If I have the actual quote, that would be good. All right. All right. And I'm going to tell you why this guy says inordinately pale skin. There's a reason why he says that. But you got to look at it. Remember when I said subject, verb, object for Hebrew and also for English? You got to use that same methodology. You can't use that with the Scottish people, how they write. So they said his face was some deal gray. Some deal in that instance was an idiom. And when you use an idiom before an actual adjective, which is, I think gray would be considered the adjective, right? You're putting an emphasis on the adjective. Now, the brother said last night that gray can mean black, gray. But remember though, Danyaahla, on a serious note though, forget about the debates. You cannot use a 2019 mindset to try to understand a mindset over 1,000 years ago or 800 years ago. And these people spoke English in a different way that we do. They don't do it subject, verb, object. They don't do that. They don't do it like in Hebrew, subject, verb, object. They don't do that. My teacher is watching. He'll correct me if I'm wrong about that. But if you are talking in that time period, some deal in the Scottish, you see, you got to go to the Scottish language dictionary and see what some deal means. And then you got to make up your mind if you're trying to go that route. All right. If you're going to accept that, or if you're going to accept what it means, because then you got to see, does this apply to his face, or does this apply to his being gray? So he's some deal gray. What does it mean? So when the person used inordinately pale skin, he might actually be justified. Because remember, it's not subject, verb, object. The gray and the face, he was gray faced, because the subject is the face. So if he's talking about, he's describing it, so you put the face, the gray and the face together, the subject and the actual adjective together to get gray faced. When you get gray faced, that's where they're getting the pale from, because that was probably a terminology that they used back then to describe people. Some deal gray along with talking about the face. So if the person is gray faced, what does that mean? So that's where the author got the pale skin from. All right, so you have to go into the actual writing. Just like with Deuteronomy 28:68, we got to go actually into the writing and parse it and get the proper meaning. So I'm not going to say you're right. I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I'm just going to say, think about that for a second. Think about that before you jump up and say, yes, I got it. I know I'm going to get you on this. He never gave us a definition for some deal. Why? Why? Because it was an idiom. And when you're using an idiom, and even in Hebrew, when you look at the idioms in the BC era, the idioms are used to emphasize on something. Come on, we got to start using our heads whenever we're looking at old things. I'm just saying though, I don't mean to bore y'all with that, but I'm just saying though, we have to be careful whenever we're coming out with information for the public. I'm not gonna say you right. I'm not gonna say you wrong. But I mean, with that same logic you use with the Douglas, I use it with King James. And that dude was pale complexion. His wife was a white woman. So the nigga was a Hebrew. And by the way, too, I got to show this, man. You talk about Nebu, man. Nebu is a hell of a researcher, man. Let's get into Nebu for a second. That's my dude for life, man. Let's get into Nebu inbox for a minute. I'm going to show you something right now live. Right? Because we ain't going to hide nothing right now. We got a whole file. We got a whole file. Whole file right now. Let me do this. Hold on there. Let's see y'all in Messenger. We got a whole file for you, brother. Don't worry about it. We got a whole file. And what we're going to do, hey, and thanks for the pictures, by the way, brother. Show me some pictures from Britain of how they pictured different black people and so forth. And thanks for the pictures, beloved. Appreciate that. All right, let me go in my inbox here with my brother. We got a whole file for Danyaahla, man. Don't worry about it. We got a lot of daggers. A lot. And bear in mind, I don't know nothing about this issue. This is not me. This is not my forte, but it's just that I'm a good researcher. I could research. All right. Let me see. There's a video I want to play. Yeah, this is some pictures from that some different books that we can don't pay my teacher no mind, man. He bug y'all out in that chat. Don't pay him no mind. All right. I wanna there's a video I wanted to play. Video. From King David to King James. Oh man. Let me see. Oh, I know what I'm looking for. My bad, fam. I know what I'm looking for. I want to know how old this picture is right here. When the guy tried to kill. Yeah. So, by the way, these are the 8 white men that tried to assassinate King James, by the way. The 8 white men were trying to kill a black king, King James. Ah, man. That was funny as hell. All right. All right. So we're going through some David My Richie stuff. All right. All right. Let's take a look here. This is when he confronted Clyde Winters about that King James nonsense. He's like, oh, that's not my area of study, man. I'm not too sure. But he put that crazy information out. Clyde Winters. All right. Damn, I can't find the damn thing. I can't find it. I'm sorry, family. I didn't mean to bore y'all with this. For King James being a sticky situation, I'll get to that in a second. Give me a second. It's funny, the other day he made a video and said that all right, I'm gonna leave that dagger alone. I'm gonna leave that black dagger alone. All right. Yeah, Nebu is an excellent researcher. Yeah, I'm gonna get to that in a second, beloved. Let me just find this clip. Here we go. All right. Now, the reason why I want to bring this up in 1278, a black Jew kicked out the Jews. Laugh out loud. All right. All right. In 1278, the king began an assault on financial fraud, in particular the clipping of coins in order to melt the shavings into new silver illegally. The Jewish community came under special scrutiny, and as a result, Edward executed half of the adult males in a minority population. Almost incidentally, he had committed the single biggest massacre of Jews in British history. The implication of genocidal tendencies on the part of Edward I must be regarded as hyperbole. While it is a fact that this number of Jews died as a result of his policies, this cannot be interpreted as a deliberate attempt to exterminate his non-Christian population. He was also called the Black Prince, by the way. Well, let's take a look at his Can I look at this? All right, here we go. All right. Let's look at how he was described though. Richard was one of the common height, but his bones were examined in 1871, were found to be those of a man nearly 6 feet high. His yellow hair, thick and curling, fell in broad masses on either side of his face, which was round and somewhat feminine. His complexion was white, but frequently flushed. The double-pointed beard often. So the reason why I said a Hebrew Israelite was killing a Hebrew, the reason why I said that, the reason why I said that shit was because he actually killed a lot of the Jews in Israel, but he's considered a black Jew by my brother, Danyaahla. That's why I wanted to show that. Well, anyway, let me get out of this and let me respond to what the sister asked me to. Let me just get to this in a second. King James, let's get to King James in a second. All right, let's look at this right now. Let's come all the way down to King James. Let me see if I see Danyaahla's face. Danyaahla face. All right, here we go. All right, so this is some of the conversations that these James certainly hints at such a sexual encounter. Buckingham writes, all the way hither I entertained myself, your unworthy servant, with this dispute whether you love me now better than at the time, which I shall never forget, at Farnham, where the bed's head could not be found between the master and his dog. And Buckingham regularly referred to himself as dog, an affectionate term with which he signed his letters to James. However, we choose to construe this letter. We cannot overlook its sexual implications. So the bedhead could not be found between the master and his dog. But they're using idioms and metaphors and all type of different terms. You know, I naturally so love your person and adore all your other parts. So I naturally so love your person. What is your person here, my brother? Your is possessive. He's using person. What is it being used as? Oh, you Garfield, you taking this stuff serious. Why are you defending this? And I adore all your other parts, which are more than ever one man had. That were not only all your people, but all the world besides set together on one side and you alone. I should obey and please you, displease, nay, despise them all. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Really? Really? Oh, man. I cannot now think of giving thanks for friend, wife, or child. Who is the friend? Who is the wife? And who is the child? My thoughts are only bent of having my dear dad and master's legs soon in my arms. Now, let me ask you this. Let's say they're speaking in a poetic sense. What do you get from your master's legs soon in my arms? Well, what do you get from that? What position is that, Danyaahla? Would you let Tazaria write you a letter and say, I cannot now think of giving thanks for friend, wife, or child. My thoughts are only bent of having my dear dad and master's legs soon in my arms. Really? Really, family? Really? This is what we do now? Oh, man. This is what we do, family? Come on, family. Is this what we do?
Which one of the guys did? He went to jail for that, and one of them was in what do you call it? Was exiled because of that. But what I'm saying though, what would be enough for you? Because there's a lot of insinuations, there's a lot of conjecture. But I'm saying though, I'm going to put it this way: if Hashar and Danyaahla kissed each other on the mouth, if you kiss Tazaria on the mouth, if you kiss Sarnetta on the mouth.
Hey, Garfield, don't even put my name in that, man. What is you doing?
Because it's going to come like I mean anti. Which one of the guys did? He went to jail for that, and one of them was in what do you call it? Was exiled because of that. But what I'm saying though, what would be enough for you? Because there's a lot of insinuations, there's a lot of conjecture. But I'm saying though, I'm going to put it this way: if Hashar and Danyaahla kissed each other on the mouth, if you kiss Tazaria on the mouth, if you kiss Sarnetta on the mouth.
Hey, Garfield, don't eat.
Hey, yo, who was the last people Israelite you greeted with a kiss?
Give me 1 second.
Oh,
I was in
is that many? Y'all kissing that many?
I was in Philly. 1 second, I'm gonna answer your question.
So
We buried a brother. We buried a brother this past Thursday. So Thursday.
So y'all do be kissing each other then?
We'll see.
So hold on. So y'all be kissing each other? I'm asking. Shaka crazy. Nah, y'all been talking on this whole. Hold on. So my question is this, because y'all talk so much shit. Right? All this homo shit you'll talk. So now, what I'm finding out is that it's a ritual and a biblical custom for you Hebrew Israelite males to kiss one another when greeting each other, yes?
All right, let's get back into it, man. Let's go.
Wait a minute.
Oh, man. Zoe not going to take no ass up on this one. I'm telling you. Oh, I know polite is right there going crazy right now.
Oh my God, dude, y'all NFL.
Didn't Captain Tazaria of Isupk admitting to kissing other men? Shaka didn't do this. He did this to himself.
Hey, yo, who was the last people Israelite you greeted with a kiss?
Give me 1 second.
Oh,
I was in
is that many? Y'all kissing that many?
I was in Philly. 1 second, I'm gonna answer your question.
So
We buried a brother. We buried a brother this past Thursday. So Thursday.
So y'all do be kissing each other then?
We'll see.
So hold on. So y'all be kissing each other? I'm asking. Shaka crazy. Nah, y'all been talking on this whole. Hold on. So my question is this, because y'all talk so much shit. right? All this homo shit you're talk. So now, what I'm finding out is that it's a ritual and a biblical custom for you Hebrew Israelite males to kiss one another when greeting each other, yes?
All right, let's get back into it, man. Let's go.
Wait a minute.
Oh, man. So I'm not going to take no hands up on this one. I'm telling you. Oh, I know Polite is right there going crazy right now.
Oh, my.
All righty. And that's it for today, family. Anybody want to call in and ask some questions? I'm right here. Anybody want to get it in? Let's get it in. I'm right here. I see Mika talking about Ashy. She made that comment too about Ashy's gray and all that stuff. You see, you got to take into consideration that those people, how they wrote and all that stuff, we got to be very careful. We can't just make a judgment, a blanket statement and say, hey, that's what it is. We can't do that. All right? We're doing a disservice to the people. Hey, this is Brother Garfield. What's up?
Yeah.
Hello? Okay. Anybody else want to call in? 1-800-518-2817. 1-800-518-2817. Oh, let me deal with Hashar too, by the way, before I go. I gotta deal with Hashar real silly ass. Let me deal with Hashar real quickly, family. I gotta deal with Hashar. Let me deal with Hashar real quickly. I can't leave him out. He talk about the ether on the horizon and all this BS. Let's take a look at this crazy guy for a second. And let me tell you something, man. These guys are extremely dishonest. So because Garfield want to point it out, they mad. So now he wanted, this is the deal. This is Danyaahla scholarship being checked, right? So he wants to now check what I put out. There's no checking what I check out. You need to correct the errors and all the craziness you put out in the community. Well, you can't be a man and be a real priest and say, hey, oh, I'm going to correct this because Garfield can't do that because of ego. Garfield is pseudo, but damn, I can't let the people know I'm really pseudo too. You know, he can't do that. Well, let me go to this guy right here. And this is why I don't trust none of them. Not one of them. Let me go to Maccabees TV for a second. He had a video the other day, right? He had a video the other day. And the video was hold on, let me see if I could find it. Let's see if I could find it. And there's a brother that he had on the other day too that I like, man. I love his information on the calendars. Danyaahla be having some good guests, man. Then you have this crippled dude talking about how Garfield running from him. And you know, I always say if the Most High work for you and you get put in a wheelchair, why the Most High ain't make you walk again? If your Most High got power. Because your Most High don't have no power. Not one drop of power.
Says, by his search, interpretation, and memory have been invoked to explain attitude polarization. And here's what happens. When a disagreement becomes more extreme, even though the different parties are exposed to the same evidence. So they get the same evidence and they start pointing out things that are not there. And that's what Garfield does. That's what he did with my brother priest Danyaahla. That's what he did with me a year ago. All right, and he does that with everybody. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so now this is getting in your head so you can understand how he operated. Conformatory bias is a tendency to emphasize and believe experiences which support one's views and to ignore or discredit those which do not. The effects of this tendency have been repeatedly documented in clinical research. I went there for a reason because you can go and type up M. Springer. And what they deal with scientific research that different scientists pull and then peer review. And if it don't match what another scientist said, they get mad at it. And that's confirmatory bias. And this is what Garfield does, okay? So it's clinically researched that this is a problem that people have. So that nigga got a sickness. You understand? That's a sickness. Go to the next one.
You're the good, man. He got a sickness.
I'm gonna show where this nigga had that sickness at.
Look at that.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
He's a biased tongue. He's a coward. He's a liar. Because you're gonna find out.
He's a liar.
He pulled out that day. Go to the video. Okay, he pulled out this newspaper clipping. It said the Queen City's visitor, a native African who was deaf, dumb, and reads Hebrew and says he's a Jew. I did not pull that day. I pulled this one. It's a totally different paper. You understand? It says the Negro who can write. We all at now. It says, let's pump that up. Come on. Blow it up. It says the Negro who can write Hebrew. All right? This is from a different paper altogether. This was published in September 19th, right? This was April 8th, okay, in Cumberland, Maryland. These two different things. Go to the next slide. Come on. Juxtaposition of the articles in question, are they totally different articles? This was in the Houston Daily Post, September 20th, 1897, right? Guess what? This came out later. The Jewish South, October 14th, 1898. Now, these are different articles from that article that was supposed to go ahead and say the same thing about a different man, right? Let's go to the next slide, just to see. Because we're going to get into detail. Because the Negro who wrote Hebrew, the one that I pulled out, it said that what? He spoke what? Lashawan Kwadash. Then down here, it says right here, Lashawan Kwadash. Now, if you read the article, the man expressed that he had spoke Hebrew, okay? And then it said he also writes fluently Lashawan Kwadash. Now, how do we know that one, these articles are different? Two, that this is very prominent. And we have to understand the prominence of this article. Why? Because so-called Jews don't speak Lashawan Kwadash. You understand? They speak what? Hebrew, modern Hebrew, and they speak the Yiddish. So this is why this was a marvel. It was a wonder. That's why they had to put this in the paper. You go to the article that he pulled out that wasn't there. Now, in that article, go back to that article because he loved to say this. His name was Wilkowski. He was taught by this, right? You know, matter of fact, you don't even gotta go there. Go up to the next one. He loved this part. Go to the next one. Samuel Wilkowski. Because I'm gonna point out all the differences that he made. Now he said that how he was taught, right? Samuel Wilkowski. It was taught by a white man. Let's just see one error that was in there. This article states only 3,000 tribe members. That's what that man said. Okay, it says you do the math, 20,000 compared to 3,000. Notice no mention of speaking Lashawan Kwadash. That's not in this article. In the other article, the man gives a different number of the people that were there. 20,000 people, and he says the tribe and how they were all taught. And he was taught by his father. Okay, his father was a priest, was a rabbi. Okay? So when the man lied, man, he said, you see this article? Oh, so this is what the Hebrews do. They're gonna go to that video and see that. I had to walk out at that point and just stay outside. You understand? Because I operate differently when niggas start doing stuff like that. You understand? Let's go to the next one. Come on. So now, just to show you what the difference is with Lashawan.
All right. Let's take a look at this carefully here. All right. And by the way, when somebody writes something about being a Jew, by the way, is True Story in the audience? What True Story in that? The True Story in the audience. True Story in. What's the name of the guy? The name of the Jew, the fake Jew. Do you have it in your files? Everybody was claiming to be a Jew at one point. But anyway, let's deal with this information right here. I'm gonna go to newspapers.com and I'm gonna deal with him lovely. This is the Jewish South article that the dude was reading from, right? I want y'all to pay attention to this carefully. Whilst Cowie tells an interesting story of his origin. He has 2 living children, both girls and both black. His family is still in Egypt. And the rabbis of New York's ghetto say that what he tells of his ancestry is borne out by ancient history. Whilst Cowie's ancestors were slaves to the patriarchs, the father of the race being the head servant of Abraham's house. These slaves followed Jacob's son to Egypt 3,000 years ago. So they weren't Hebrews. And when the Jews were delivered from Egypt's tyranny, they went with them across the Red Sea into the wilderness. So obviously they're not bloodline, first of all. They became converted. See, key word. They became converted to Judaism. How come you didn't read that part, Mr. Honest? And helped to drive the Philistines and the Hittites and other idol worshippers from the land of Canaan. But a strange freak of fate landed the Negro Jews, who were at odds with their white brethren, back into the land of the Pharaohs, where they were treated with superstitious kindness by the Egyptians, who feared another outpouring of the wrath of the God of Israel. They settled in the northeastern part of Egypt, where for more than 2,500 years they have lived in seclusion, their whereabouts unknown to the Hebrews of Palestine and other countries. Samuel Walsh-Calwy says that his people have adhered with scrupulous strictness to the tenets of the Abrahamic faith. The Makamba tribe at present numbers 3,000 souls. Like their white brethren, they keep the Sabbath on Saturday, beginning on Friday, evening at sundown. All their meats and articles of food are kosher, and their vernacular is partly pure Hebrew and partly the jargon. Walsh-Calwy is a Hebrew scribe, and he came to this country to better his condition. All right. Very interesting article. Very interesting article. Very interesting. Very interesting article. Huh. Sometimes you got to wonder if it's just too good to be true. Right? All right. Okay, this is how the article had started, by the way. Okay. He hails from Makamba, right? Okay. Let's go to this right here for a second. This is September 23rd. Yet another American discovery. Let's look at what this article says now. Come on, Danyaahla. Tell Hashar to watch. Yet another American discovery. There's a young Negro in New York whose name is Samuel Walsh-Calwy, 33 years of age, a native of Makamba. Wakanda, Makamba. In northeastern Egypt, he's a descendant of Eleazar, the servant of Abraham. So he's not bloodline at all. He's not even a real Israelite, Hebrew, whatever. All right. All right. So Hebrew, partly Hebrewish, The latter, they recently learned from white Jewish settlers. The older people only speak the language of the Bible. There are about 3,000 of these Negro Jews in Makamba. How they should have kept their presence a secret is not explained. Still, there's only one difficulty ahead with this story. The index of the best maps of Egypt know not such a place as Makamba. To say the least, further information is desirable. So why would you rush and believe a story about a guy in 1897 who didn't come over on a slave ship, by the way, which don't apply to the conversation that he was addressing? Secondly, you say he come from Makamba. You heard it, Makamba? Ladies and gentlemen, is there any place by the name of Makamba in the history of this planet that we call the Earth? The dude made the shit up. He made the shit up. You guys play too many games. It's called Hebrew Scholastic Sham. Let's deal with this article now. There's another article. This is just to show you that people used to go around and talk about their Jews. Actually, this is the wrong one, but let me read this one anyway. His name is Bata Lobagola. Was an early 20th century American imposter and entertainer who presented an exoticized identity as a native of Africa, when in reality he was born Joseph Lee in Baltimore, Maryland. Despite an impoverished start in life and a lack of education and a series of scandalous arrests related to homosexual activities, mainly involving underage individuals, Lobagola maintained a long and colorful career posing as an African savage, during which he delivered lectures to many institutions and conducted public debates. Let me see. Lobagola published some articles in 1929, and the publishers decided to produce a book version to be titled Lobagola, an African Savage Own Story, in an attempt to capitalize upon the then current vogue for exotic customs of places untouched by Europe. Nuff made much of Lobagola being a savage from a region of Africa supposedly never visited by white people, though Lobagola described himself as a black Jew, claiming that he was descended from the people who had fled the Holy Land following the destruction of Herod's temple. The book was virtually unedited and came across as a picturesque pseudo-biography studied with Lobagola's observations of West African ways and his adventures in many lands. But the bottom line, though, he was faking the funk. There was this other guy that was going around speaking Hebrew, too. He's another one. That's the one that I wanted. And, oh, he was crazy. He was crazy. That's another one. I'm telling y'all, man, keep messing with us, and we're going to deal with y'all. And I want to appreciate Danyaahla for doing that response yesterday. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you trying to put some information out. And whoever wants Garfield, I declare war against the Hebrew Israelites. Y'all declare war on me, I'm declaring war again. I'm going to continue putting out information, and I'm going to use my platform. I'm also going to use Sarnetter's platform if he allows me. And I'm going to keep on beating on this craziness. We are not Hebrew Israelites. And if you take a DNA test, it will prove it. It will show where your roots is. My roots is West Africa. Most of us have sickle cell trait. Where did you get that from? Not from the Middle East. You ain't get that from no Middle East. You got to talk up, Sean. You got to talk up.
Hey, man. Can you hear me?
Yeah, what up? What up?
Next, they're gonna be micro machines.
Yo, I'm telling you, this is crazy, bro. The obsession with everybody being white, black is just amazing. It's amazing. It's an obsession. And by the way, on Daniela's presentation, Divine Prospect was right there, and he soaked in everything and didn't say a word. Like, bro, this here right here is off, bro. Or, you know, that don't make no sense. Because it's all about a belief. No, but what he'll do, though, he'll probably talk behind Danyaahla's back. That's what he'll do.
We already know you're gonna talk behind his back. The thing is did you believe that he really was gonna try to say something right there to be like, bro, nah, this is it. Listen, we already understand that the brother used a fictitious website that's unsourced to start the whole argument with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing he did. So when we started,
actually, let me correct you. He made a presentation a couple years ago, and I responded to it.
He responded to it a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But the website, the whole point is the website is faulty. That's okay, all right, let me start over. When you're doing research, right, the first thing you do is ask a question, right? You start with the question. So what was his initial question in his research to start this whole thing off?
He never asked a question. All he did was say, King James is black, and I'm going to prove it with this information.
Exactly.
He doesn't know how to research.
He never asked.
Exactly.
He never asked the question. So he started off from a faulty premise from the gate. His hypothesis was his conclusion from the gate.
Exactly.
We all these names. But you never asked a question, Danyaahla, and then you never gave us your hypothesis. You gave us your opinion, and then you argue your opinion as your hypothesis and your conclusion. We didn't even see your collection of data. The data that you collected was from some pseudo sites where you pulled some images and then you said it looks like. So then you used a lookership. So in the chat, I was posting a list of illogical fallacies that he was committing along his whole path. And he committed like every last one of them.
And you know, it's funny. I fall into the trap of not following a methodology by actually adapting to that scenario. And that's what's wrong with the whole dialogue period. You know, this is why I want to debate Zion Lex so badly, because the whole premise of Asuma versus Egypt is wrong. The whole thing is wrong from the jump. It is totally wrong. And I think Shaka and Jabari missed an opportunity to point that out. I'm not saying who won or who didn't win, but we can't win some. You can't win a debate that don't even make sense from the jump. Yeah. But his methodology, and I fall into that trap too, man. I fall into the trap, and that's why sometimes the dialogue is not as good as it should be. Oh man, here goes this dude. All right, hold on a second, bro. Let me call you. All right, let me take this call. Talk to you later, bro. Go ahead. Oh boy. Hey, what's up, bro?
What's going on, man? I just want to ask you a quick question.
Oh boy.
Ain't nothing crazy, man. Does a group or a person's DNA have to show up in your DNA results for you to have been related to those people?
You mean the people? No, not the people, the markers. The markers have to show up, not the people. So even if listen, my DNA is all over the place, but it's just that I have an understanding. And the reason is because I'm basically a West African. So if this group, this ancestry DNA has 5,000 samples and African ancestry have 300,000, of course, African ancestry going to give me a better result. It has to do with how many samples someone has. Because remember, you got over probably 200, you probably got 1 billion people in Africa, for all I know. But 300,000, what they do is go into main spots where people are. Because the Yoruba and the Igbo have pretty much the same DNA. But what happened is to study what's called to get deep into why to differentiate people, there's something called the biallelic testing. So the biallelic testing is that will tell me exactly if I'm this person or that. It will tell me which tribe I'm from, particularly if you have enough samples. It will tell you. It will tell you. But what you're saying though is a very important question. You said, Garfield, if the person will it tell them if that country don't pop up, if Nigeria don't pop up, if that don't pop up? No, that means you don't have marker within that group. That's all it's saying. There's no markers identified.
Okay. So what I'm asking basically is this, and I kind of get what you're saying, and the reason I'm asking you is not for me to listen to this conversation, but what you're basically saying is that there is no possible way that unless a marker shows up in there that you can, and we're talking about through intermarriage, we're talking about through people connecting with other groups of people. If you were saying related to a Native American who had, let's say, and I'm just using them as a modern example, and who had a mulatto Native American grandchild with, say, a black person or a white person, and then that mulatto grandchild only begin to continue to create with other strictly white or strictly black, and then they continue to populate. Are you telling me that as that line goes, let's say 100, 500,000, 1,000 years down the line, are you telling me that there is no way that Native American original ancestry, even though they are connected to these people historically, there's no way that can disappear from showing up on their testing 1,000 years from now?
No, it's not going to show. It's not going to.
You're saying there's a guarantee that that's going to show up.
Yeah, because I'm going to tell you why. Because remember, you have Y DNA testing and you have mtDNA. Remember, say for example, you are my father, right? So you gave me. We all have 23 chromosomes. One of them determines the sex of the individual, right? But out of those 23 chromosomes that you passed on to me, one of them has a special code in it that you had, and that special code is what the marker is. So you have that code, that code, and the person before you have that code. So that's what's called the haplogroup. That marker is within all of us. So we can't get rid of that marker, bro. Humans cannot get rid of it. So that means 1,000 years before me. Remember this. All right. Say for example, right? You're my father. I'm your son. And you came from Jamaica, right? You came from Jamaica. And a slave master came to Jamaica and slept with your he's actually in your father's lineage. Let me just put it that way. So he came into your father's lineage. So that will be in the DNA. So when I have like a 5 to 10% European, that's where it comes from. from the injection of that European within the last 500 years. That's why we know it had to do with slavery. You understand? DNA is up to it's not like 10 years ago, bro. It's not 10 years ago. It's not 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? But you know what though? I'm not gonna discourage you. I'm not gonna discourage you and say, you know what? You're a Hebrew, so you don't believe in DNA. But the problem is we have to have the markers of the original people. That's why at the beginning of the video, I talked about the so-called lost tribes is really not lost. And there's an additional piece to it I'm going to put in my book. I didn't want to go into that. But I know, bro, we know where the Jews are, bro. We know where the Jews are. Hold on. We know where the Jews are. Hold on. We know where the Jews are by DNA. We know by anthropology. And we know by archaeology, we know by history, and we know by genetics. We know. Trust me, we know where they are.
Can you clear one thing up for me?
Yeah.
Okay, so based on what you said, why is it like if I take a DNA test today, why is it that certain markers will show up on this test, and then I can take another test with someone else, an entirely different country will show up that did not show up on the original DNA test?
Okay,
so
okay,
random,
okay.
If it's random, how are you saying that it automatically pops up every time you take the test?
Okay, all right. Good. That's an excellent question. Again, it goes back to what I said at the first point. It depends on how many samples you have. Remember, if you listen to the Rick Kittle's interview, he said he took somebody's DNA, right? And he said nothing popped up for them of where they went back, and they found out that they were an Israelite. They were from that area, because they never had no markers there.
So what we need to take multiple samples?
No. It has to do with which company you choose to use. You need to investigate them. I just did random companies. I'm gonna do 3 more, and I have to do African ancestry. I'm just gonna do 3 more as a random. But I mean, pretty much African ancestry. I know who I am. I have no doubt. I'm West African. But all of them, I got the same results. But I did get differential ratios as far as where I'm at. Like one gave me more Cameroon or whatever, but it had to do with the company. But pretty much I'm 80%. I'm 80% to 90% West African.
Were there any new countries there?
No.
Or new peoples?
No.
But there have been for other people though.
I don't know, bro. I can't speak on it. I only could speak on myself and what people show me.
Okay, and I'm done. I guess what I'm just trying to get to is if there is someone out there who can get 3 different results on 3 different tests, couldn't it be said that the process itself is a process that can only really be concrete when one person takes multiple tests through multiple sources? That's
the purpose of me doing it. I did it for the Hebrew Israelite community, and I did it for the Aboriginals. That's why I did so many tests.
So we shouldn't yet discount whether someone is from that area until they've taken multiple tests from multiple sources, right?
No, this is what I'm doing. This is what I've done, brother. I'm the living example.
I'm talking about you saying I'm talking about when you say the Hebrews are not the Hebrews because you found out through DNA testing, but you haven't tested enough yet, is what I'm saying. You're saying this.
No, bro. I know who the Jews are. I know who they are. Okay. I know who. There's no doubt. And as a matter of fact, a lot of them stayed back and lived in the actual country. There's a lot of people left back. Who are those people?
I'm talking about the people you're discounting, though.
Who I'm discounting? African Americans. African Americans primarily. African Americans. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. All right, hold on a second. African Americans primarily have a Y DNA of E1B1A. If you have E1B1A, you are not connected to that region. That's all I'm going to say, brother.
Based on what does that mean?
It means you are. That's a West African marker, and it's actually all the way down to South Africa too. Because remember, it split it off. But what I'm saying to you is, if you have the J markers, there are other markers. Then you will see that, like that brother that called before you, he got the J marker, but he's not a Hebrew. He's a West African.
Right. It may or may not pop up technically.
Brother, it will pop up, brother.
Every time.
Every time, brother.
That's not accurate. I'm sorry, bro.
All right.
That's not accurate. Thank you, though.
All right. Peace and love, brother. Thanks for the call, man. Right, call anytime.
Have a great day, bro.
You too, beloved. Shout out to Chicago in the building. Shout out to Tennessee in the building. Shout out to Mika in Florida. Truth story and peace and love out of Planet Riz. Truth is truth. I appreciate your words, by the way, beloved. I appreciate your words. For the Facebook, I'm gonna cut off from Facebook, and you guys could we will talk. We're gonna do what we're gonna do, family. That's the bottom line. We're gonna do what we're gonna do. All right, peace and love from Facebook. I'm gonna stay on YouTube. Y'all could go to the Dagger Squad channel and finish up the show. What time is it? 10:51. I'm gonna just do a couple more minutes and I'm out of here. ETH on the horizon. Get the hell out of here with y'all fake ass. Guy said he's from Macamba and you believe that. You never even took the time to say, let me research what Macamba is. That nigga bullshit. He made that shit up. I'm not saying he don't know no Hebrew. Don't get me wrong, but his story is full of shit. He's full of shit with the story. But that's what black men did when they came to America. They did a lot of I'm Hebrew. They had this guy speaking Hebrew until they found out he was a damn pedophile and locked his ass up. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Conrad, man. Bet Sentan in the building. That's where Taki was from, man. Where Taki made that move from. If we are just West Africans, no, we are primarily West Africans. We came from West Africa. That's a given. Whether you come from somewhere else, I don't know. You gotta take your DNA and see where it leads you. Dude said he's from Macamba. That never bling in your ears like, damn, Macamba rhymes with Wakanda. Maybe he bullshit, yo. But no. I just want to believe that he a Hebrew. And plus, his story says he's converted. So he's not even an Israelite. His story said it. Oh, man. Jersey Shias, you don't know how DNA works. So if you want to spew your knowledge, fine. Go ahead. I ain't got no problem with that. Anyway, family, I'm out of here. Peace and love. This is your brother Garfield. Much love and respect to everybody, man. Shout out to Macamba in the building. Shout out to Macamba, the people from Macamba. How did he learn Yiddish? Yeah, and his name was Walkowski. How does a Hebrew name Walkowski? Because it's probably his slave master. As a matter of fact, he was connected to Connecticut, where the Jews was at. All right, anyway, family, peace and love. This is your brother Garfield. One love, man. And watch y'all back, fake-ass Hebrews. I'm coming for you. Peace.